Hello everyone! Just look at this beautiful abstract earring. So colorful, so unique. Would you like to know how I made them? Then keep watching. Hi to my new subscribers, my visitors, my viewers, and of course my long-time subscribers. Today I want to show you something funny and a little bit unusual. Take a look at this material I'm going to use. It's a smoked salmon. Well, no, I'm not actually going to use the salmon itself. I'm going to use the salmon package because it has absolutely amazing colors. It sounds silly and funny, but it's true. I got the salmon package from my friend. I think they sell it in Costco. When I looked at this beautiful cardboard package, I was honestly stunned by the colors. I immediately started thinking, why not use this beautiful design to create earrings? It may sound a little bit wild, right? But you see, I'm a creative person. Whenever I go somewhere or look at something, I automatically think like an artist. I notice colors, shapes, texture, and I immediately ask myself, can I use this one of my creation? That's exactly what happened when I saw this amazing artwork on the package. The salmon, the cold mountain river, the beautiful swirls and waves. I fell in love with this colorful combination and I thought I have to turn this into earrings. I wanted to preserve this beautiful artwork in a wearable form. The first step was deciding which parts of the design to use. I have some wooden blanks, a smaller one and a larger one, and I started placing them over different areas of the package to see which sections would work best for future earrings. This turned out to be the most difficult part because there are no identical areas in the design. Every section is unique. Also, some parts look somewhat similar. Even the fish itself has beautiful patterns and colors. So after a lot of looking and deciding and finally choose the areas I wanted to use. First I cut away the excess cupboards. Then I used a pencil and the wooden blanks to trace the shapes I needed. These are the pieces I'm going to cut out and glue onto the wooden bases to create my future earrings. Before I continue with the tutorial, I would like to say hello to one of my subscribers who recently went through a serious operation. She told me that she watches my videos because they inspire her to live, to recover, and to keep creating beautiful things. I want to say everything will be fine. Believe in your recovery and allow your body to heal. I pray for you every day, sending you warm wishes and big hugs from Canada. Now let's continue. Step by step, I trace the area I want to use for my future earrings with a pencil. I try to find colors and patterns that are somewhat similar, even so it is not easy. Honestly, I would love to use the entire surface of this beautiful package because every part of it is interesting. Now I have two paper shapes cut out. I will continue with the blue water and some of the mountain area, and we will see how everything turns out. Here are the pieces I cut out, and now I'm going to use Mod Podge. Mod Podge is a perfect glue for this kind of work because it does not leave messy spots, especially after it dries. It also does not become yellowish over time. Mod Podge is also inexpensive. If you do not have it, you can use a similar glue, such as a PVA glue, because Mod Podge actually contains PVA. If you do not have PVA, you can use another craft glue that works well on paper and wood. I apply the glue to the cut out paper pieces. I do not cut them too precisely at first. Usually I leave 1 or 2 millimeters of extra paper around the edges. This gives me a little room to move the wooden blank and position it properly. It is much easier to clean and adjust the edges later than to cut too much at the beginning. If you cut the paper too small, you may not be able to use it on the blank anymore. So, step by step, I apply Mod Podge and glued the paper onto the wooden blanks. The thicker the paper, the more pressure it may need to stick properly. I may use some extra weight, almost like a small press, and then we will see what happened. While I'm working on my project, my husband is working on another one of my crazy projects, and you will see that in the next video. So, what do we have here? I have already cut the edges. I used scissors because the craft knife was not very easy to use on this material. For the small blanks, I have already covered the edges with a gold marker. For the backs, I used wood markers, and here you can also see some other projects I'm working on. Yes, I will show you all of them. Once the backs and the blanks are dry, I will use varnish. I have different types of varnish, and today I'm using OberezovArt. It is very good and not expensive. I apply one layer of varnish to the back of the blanks to seal them. Sometimes I use 2 layers depending on the earrings and how they look. I usually use glossy varnish, but for me it does not really matter whether it's glossy or another finish. Step by step, I apply the varnish with the brush. One of the small white blanks already has protection on the back, so I'm not going to add anything there. I will start by varnishing the edges that I covered with the gold marker. Then I will apply varnish to the front of these beautiful future earrings. It is a very slow process. It requires accuracy and patience. I usually wear gloves because this work can be a little messy and I do not want my fingers to be covered with glue and varnish. So step by step, I continue work with these small earring blanks. So here are all the blanks after I covered them with varnish. Now they need time to dry. Once they are completely dry, I will apply varnish to the front of the earring pieces. Even before they are finished, I love how beautiful and colorful they look. The colors became even richer after applying the varnish. I was actually working on these earrings just a few days before the market that I was planning to attend. As always, I was finishing everything almost at the last minute. At this stage, I decided to apply a second layer of varnish, and for the final layer, I also added a few small transparent dimensional drops that resembles water droplets. I thought this would create the feelings of fresh mountain water and add more depth and texture to the design. And finally, the earrings are assembled. I used 18 karat gold plated hooks to compare the pieces. Here's the final result. I have to tell you that I finished this earring just one day before the festival. And guess what? At the festival, I sold two pairs from this collection almost immediately. I think they turn out really beautiful and unique. They are colorful, artistic, and unique, and I like anything else. So tell me, what do you think about that? And remember, these earrings were made from a material that most people would never consider using for handmade jewelry, but that's exactly how my mind works. I'm a creator, I'm an artist, and whenever I look at something, I try to see its beauty and imagine what it could become. And this is not the end. Another collection is coming soon, my flower collection. So subscribe to my channel and I'll see you very soon.